Let's also get Purvesh Shelatkar, who is a senior VP at Centrum Broking. Hi Purvesh, good morning. SGX Nifty is suggesting a positive opening, but we're seeing that profit booking coming about in our markets. Overall, tell us, is there anything to worry about? Because in the past few sessions, we've also seen some FI selling coming.
Well, see, this particular week is a expiry week, and because of which, volatility is likely to remain, and that is what is happening in market. If you see, there are corrections which are happening individual stock wise, but Nifty more or less is maintaining its, level or range, whatever you want to call that. Now, all the eyes are, most of the results are out, and the results so far are declared are been, far better than probably the worst expected of them. So, most of the, the demonetization worries and all those things are behind us, and we are looking forward now to the coming things. And two basic things, which are to be watched out. One is monsoon, and the second is, the upgrade of India from the rating agencies. Now, out of this, more or less, whether it is Skymet or IMD, or whichever agencies, we are basically likely to see, somewhere in the range of normal monsoon kind of thing, or slightly below or slightly above normal. So, which augurs very well for our country. And as you know that we are an agrarian economy, still a lot of people are dependent on agriculture. So good monsoon is a good news for economy per se. So I don't think there is much things to worry. About the international rating agencies, today the tone is like this, that India is probably the only country barring China, it's growing decently, and the rest of the world is in a complete different mess. So sooner or later these guys are going to come back. As far as FII selling is concerned, right now, that's a worry. It's not that it is not a worry, but domestic flows are equally strong. You are seeing a very strong SIP happening. The new generation is going more and more into the SIP investments, and they are realizing that in the longer term, equities is going to help. So any dip should be, used as an opportunity to buy. The very fact that GST rollout is going to happen soon, the very fact that various reforms are taking place. Even yesterday's RBI policy, bill, basically not policy, which basically mentioned that they have taken a step further from, how they want to protect the bank NPAs and things like that. It's basically indicating that we are going in the right direction. So I don't think there is anything to worry. I would be buyer on a dip, on every dip.
Right, so that's the view coming in, buy on every dip in this kind of market where everything is just going in the right direction. But Purvesh, do valuations not worry you, because we've not seen any earnings growth in the last 3 years?
See, last 3 years was a completely different scenario, and now going forward it is going to be a completely different scenario. Till probably, last year or till even this March, we were not sure what was the NPA worry and how deep the, trouble was. But right now, most of the banks, because, RBI dictate their, strictness, has come out with whatever their NPA list are, worry list are. And so we know for sure that this is the worry where we are in. So which means that we are at the fag end of that worry. So second thing, if you see, the most worry was about the steel sector, power sector, the infra space and textile. These were the worries. Infra is trying to started looking up. Even the metal prices globally has firmed up, and that is giving a lot of solace to the steel companies globally. Locally also. Which means these sectors are likely to come out of NPAs very soon. Third thing is power sector. Even here, if you see, there is a power deficit kind of situation, and power probably there is some places there is surplus, some places there is deficit, but there are more streamlining things happening. The distribution part is been taken care of. So I guess that even that sector sooner or later will also come into a mainstream. And if we see the good monsoon and the GDP growth taking place, I think power sector will automatically have its own demand, and the PPAs, which is one of the biggest worries, would get signed at a decent price where everything will become affordable. So, if you don't buy it when the trouble is there or everything is in price, then when you buy. So here the worst is in price, but the best is not factored in. Nobody is ready to factor in probably 8, 9, 10% growth.
Well, that's right, but the power sector going ahead could benefit from the GST rate which has come for coal, and that's come down to about. Purvesh, just want to come back to you. You said you like the realty space. Any specific stocks that you would like to recommend to our viewers?
Which space you mentioned?
Realty. The realty and the construction space which you mentioned that you
no,
like.
I never said realty. I said that the overall sector.
All right, that's not an issue, but we've seen a good.
Construction space is definitely a space, you know, which.
All right, Purvesh, I was talking about the construction and the realty space. Just want to check what's your view there, because we've seen a huge move coming about in the realty stocks, especially post the budget when the government gave infrastructure status to affordable housing. Are there any stocks that one should keep on their radar?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the construction space, especially in terms of affordable housing, is the theme to play, because there is a huge dearth of, you know, houses, especially in the affordable housing space. In real estate also, you know, the stock or the flats or the houses which are going to be 1 crore plus are not going to be sold that easily. But the houses which are going to be 25 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 10 lakhs category, or even sub 10 lakhs category, are going to have tremendous, you know, demand coming in. So those who are in affordable housing, whether it is the, you know, company which is constructing, the company which is, you know, financing, are all going to be benefited out of that, and this is going to be benefiting the entire country. So it's not a small segment. It doesn't have any impact of whatever happens globally. It doesn't have any impact of any rupee dollar movement or anything like that. This is a pure domestic consumption story, and this will do well. So anybody who is in the domestic construction space, especially in affordable housing, in terms of the construction as well as in terms of financing, should be latched up. So housing finance companies probably would be one of the better beneficiaries of this. So GIC Housing is one stock which we like very much, which we think is going to do very well going forward.
All right, so
even in banking space, bankers like SBI, ICICI Bank are, you know, rightly placed to, just because of their reach, rightly placed to get the best advantage out of it.
Okay, so you like the housing finance companies, and in that space, Purvesh likes GIC Housing and also State Bank of India as well as ICICI Bank are the stocks which Purvesh of Centrum Broking likes. But just a minute to go for the market to open. You on pharma space that's open with the negative bias. Sun Pharma is down after Taro's numbers. This is one space where we've just not seen any participation coming about. Would you recommend bottom fishing, because the valuations have corrected sharply for these marquee companies?
No, I don't think pharma is still in a buy zone. There are two basic reasons. Number one is that US FDA is, you know, after, you know, probably the biggest villain, if I may, you know, say so, for the Indian pharma industry, who have been basically major suppliers to the world or even to United States. And because of that worries, you know, probably the shortcomings which were there with our Indian pharma companies are, I would say, getting addressed. So in the medium to long term, pharma sector would be good, but still there is a lot of pain left, because not all audits are being done for the year or for the current period. Second thing is that rupee is also playing a havoc, because rupee has, you know, strengthened from whatever 68, 69 levels to the current level of 64, and the way, you know, things are, the GDP growth and the rating upgrades and the growth which it's seeing, probably we would head even on a stronger rupee. So these two things will keep on having pressure on pharma. So I would not look at pharma so early. Maybe another 6 months down the line, probably they would correct probably another 20-30%, and then only one can look at them. It doesn't mean that pharma is bad from the longer term period, but for a medium term, if it's likely to fall by 20-30%, then that's a massive fall which we can see. So I would avoid pharma completely at this juncture. I would not recommend to add at this juncture at all.
So avoid the pharma space. Let's pull up Videocon Industries. Now remember, in the last hour of trade yesterday, there was a sharp fall which was seen in this stock, and it was locked in lower circuit. Once again today, the stock is down about 20%. Looks like there is something brewing. We don't have any details, but we'll find that out for you, because Videocon is tumbled nearly 40% in just last two trading sessions. That's the video investment themes, because you are recommending to buy on every dip. So what are the stocks or the sectors according to you which one should keep an eye on?
See, you mentioned about Nifty P valuations also earlier. So I just want to add something, and whereby we can go to the sectors, is that this is typically a market which is going to follow what is called Giffens Goods paradox. So what it means is that basically the costly will become costlier and the cheap will become cheaper. So wherever there is a quality, it will keep on getting higher and higher premium, and wherever there is a serious corporate governance issues, wherever there is no quality, will get beaten down. So in that space, Indian basically domestic consumption story will remain intact and is intact and will keep on growing. So all the sectors which are in and around that, for example, banking, financial space, so to say, housing finance, microfinance, then automobiles, then the domestic construction, which is basically industrial capital goods, and obviously the consumption in the form of consumer durables and consumer discretionary will continue to do well. And these are the sectors which we think that at every dip one should accumulate, because these are the sectors which are going to outperform benchmark by a massive margin.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on markets, but we were actually discussing the Adani Group. Purvesh as well as Rakesh, I would like to thank both of you for joining us today and giving us your views on markets, fundamental as well as technical view coming up there from both our guests. And the market